The ruins stretched across the valley floor like broken teeth, silent witnesses to a civilization long gone. Commander Lissa Harmon stepped carefully over a fallen column, her boots kicking up dust that hadn't been disturbed in thousands of years. The air inside her helmet tasted stale despite the life support systems working at full capacity. "All clear ahead, Commander," said the voice of Lieutenant Paul Winters in her earpiece. "No structural dangers detected." "Copy that," Lisa replied, moving deeper into what appeared to be an ancient temple or meeting hall. The ruins on Kepler 438 bits had stood for at least 50,000 years according to their initial scans. This alien world, nearly 470 light-years from Earth, had once been home to an advanced civilization before something had wiped them out. Behind her, Dr. Olivia Martinez carefully photographed symbols etched into the stone walls. The xenorchaeologist had barely spoken since they'd entered the ruins, too absorbed in her work. "Found anything interesting yet, Doc?" Lisa asked, pausing to examine a crumbling statue. "Everything here is interesting," Olivia replied without looking up. "But yes, some of these symbols match patterns we've seen on other worlds. I believe this was a place of knowledge storage, like a library or archive." Lisa nodded and continued exploring. The Horizon Asterisk had been on its deep space mission for 3 years now, cataloging and studying the remains of extinct civilizations. This was the 4th dead world they'd found, each one telling the same story. A species rises, reaches for the stars, then vanishes. "Commander, I think you should see this," called Steve Bennett, their technology specialist. His voice had an unusual edge to it. Lisa made her way to where Steve was standing before a wall that looked different from the others. While most of the ruins were made of a sandstone-like material, this section appeared to be carved from a dark, glossy substance similar to obsidian. "What am I looking at, Bennett?" "It's some kind of data storage, I think. Different from anything we've seen before." Steve ran his scanner over the surface. "The patterns aren't random. They're mathematical. Universal constants, prime numbers. I think it's a message designed to be understood by any technologically advanced species." Lisa felt a chill that had nothing to do with the environmental controls in her suit. "Can you translate it?" "Some of it, yes. The basic mathematical principles create a kind of Rosetta Stone." As Steve worked, Lisa called the rest of the team over. Chief Science Officer Daniel Wright arrived with Olivia, both of them immediately captivated by the discovery. An hour later, Steve looked up from his work, his face pale even in the filtered light of his helmet. "It's a warning," he said quietly. "About what?" Daniel asked. "About Earth." Lisa frowned. "That can't be right. These people died tens of thousands of years ago. They couldn't have known about Earth." "I've triple-checked the translation," Steve insisted. "This message specifically identifies Earth's location using pulsar positioning. It calls Earth the quarantine world and warns others to stay away." Olivia stepped forward, her eyes wide behind her visor. "What exactly does it say?" Steve swallowed hard before reading from his datapad. "The translation is rough, but it says, 'Beware the blue world of the yellow star. It is sealed for a purpose. The inhabitants guard what must never escape. Death comes to those who break the seal.'" A heavy silence fell over the team. Lisa stared at the obsidian wall, its surface seeming to absorb the light from their suits. Why would an extinct civilization, light years from home, leave a warning about Earth? She finally asked. Daniel shook his head slowly. "More importantly, what are we supposedly guarding?" As if in answer, a distant rumble shook the ground beneath them. Dust and small stones rained down from the ceiling. "We should get back to the ship," Lisa said, suddenly eager to leave this place of ancient warnings. "Download everything you can, then pack up. I want us ready for departure in 30 minutes." As they hurried back through the ruins, Lisa couldn't shake the feeling that they were being watched by eyes that had been dust for millennia. or that they had just stumbled onto something that would change humanity's understanding of its place in the universe forever. 3 months passed since the discovery on Kepler 438 bits. The crew of the Horizon continued their mission, jumping from one dead world to another. But Lisa Harmon couldn't forget the warning about Earth. The ship orbited the remains of a planet now known only as RX 394. Below them, a world that once held life was nothing but rocks and dust. Daniel Wright looked at the scan results with a deep frown on his face. This civilization was more advanced than the last one. They built massive cities that covered entire continents, he said, pointing to the ghostly outlines on the screen. But something wiped them out about 30,000 years ago. Lisa nodded. Any sign of what killed them? No evidence of war. No sign of disease. They just stopped. Daniel swiped through more images. It's the same pattern we've seen before. Commander, Steve called from his station. I found something on the surface. It looks like a monument or beacon. It's still giving off energy after all this time. Lisa made the decision quickly. Prepare a landing team. I want to see this myself. 6 hours later, Lisa stood with Daniel, Olivia, and Steve at the base of a tall spire made of a metal they couldn't identify. Unlike the ruins around it, the spire showed no signs of damage or decay. It rose from the dusty ground like a perfectly preserved needle pointing to the stars. It's broadcasting something, Steve said, checking his equipment. Low-frequency waves, similar to what we found on Kepler 438 bits. Olivia walked slowly around the base of the spire. There are symbols here. Different language, but... Daniel, does this look familiar to you? Daniel bent down to examine the markings. Yes, the mathematical sequence is similar to what we found before. It's another message designed to be understood by anyone who finds it. Steve connected his translator to the symbols and waited as it processed the alien language. The wind howled around them, blowing dust that scratched against their helmet visors. It's about Earth again, Steve finally said, his voice quiet. Lisa felt her heart beat faster. What does it say this time? It calls Earth the prison world and warns that what's trapped there must never be freed. Steve looked up at the others. It's too similar to be a coincidence. Olivia took pictures of all the symbols. 2 different civilizations, separated by hundreds of light years and thousands of years, both left warnings about Earth. How is that possible? Maybe they knew each other, Daniel suggested. Had contact somehow. Or maybe whatever they're warning about is old, Lisa said. Older than both civilizations. Back on the ship, they compared the 2 warnings. The words were different, but the message was the same. Stay away from Earth. Don't break the seal. Danger waits there. In the weeks that followed, the Horizon visited 5 more dead worlds. On each one, hidden among the ruins, they found the same warning about Earth. Some called it the containment sphere, others the guardian world, but all agreed that something dangerous was being kept there. After finding the 7th warning, Lisa called a meeting in the ship's conference room. The mood was tense as the senior crew gathered around the table. This can't be random, she said. 7 dead civilizations, 7 warnings about our home planet. Frank Nelson, the ship's captain, looked at each person in turn. It seems we have a pattern. But what are we guarding? Asked Amelia Cortez, their communications specialist. And why don't we know about it? Daniel displayed images of all 7 warnings on the main screen. Whatever it is, it scared these civilizations enough that they left messages meant to last forever. Lisa stared at the alien symbols, feeling a growing sense of dread. Captain, I think we need to go home. Earth needs to know about this. Captain Nelson nodded slowly. Agreed. Whatever these dead worlds were afraid of, it's been on Earth all along. And we've been living with it without even knowing. The Horizon changed course that day, beginning the long journey back to the planet that, according to every dead civilization they'd found, was not just humanity's home, but also its prison. The journey back to Earth would take 6 months, The Horizon asterisk pushed through the darkness of space, carrying its disturbing discoveries and a crew filled with questions. Amelia Cortez spent most days in her lab, surrounded by images of the warnings they had found. As the ship's communications specialist, she had the best chance of understanding the alien messages more deeply. She worked late into the night cycle, comparing symbols and searching for patterns. One evening, Captain Nelson found her asleep at her desk, her dark hair spilled across her notes. He gently woke her. "You need rest, Cortez," he said, his voice firm but kind. Amelia blinked up at him. "I'm close to something, Captain. These messages aren't just warnings. They're instructions." Nelson pulled up a chair. "Instructions for what?" "The Watchers," she said, pointing to a symbol that appeared in several of the warnings. "That's what they call themselves. The messages mention a coalition of species who work together to monitor Earth. Why would multiple alien civilizations care so much about our planet?" Nelson asked. Amelia showed him her latest translations. "Not about us, about what we're keeping contained. These civilizations didn't fear humans, Captain. They feared something humans are guarding, maybe without even knowing it." The captain frowned. "That doesn't make sense. If something dangerous is on Earth, why haven't we discovered it?" "Maybe we have," Amelia said quietly. "Maybe we just call it something else." As the Horizon asterisk continued its journey home, strange things began to happen. Equipment malfunctioned for no reason. The ship's AI reported phantom energy readings. Crew members complained of unusual dreams. Lisa found Daniel in the observation deck one morning, staring out at the stars. "Couldn't sleep?" she asked. He shook his head. "I keep hearing voices in my dreams. They whisper things I can't understand, but they feel ancient." "I've had similar dreams," Lisa admitted, "and I'm not the only one. Half the crew is reporting nightmare issues." Daniel turned to her, his eyes tired. "Do you think it's connected to what we found? Could something be reaching out to us?" "That's not possible," Lisa said, but she didn't sound convinced. The dreams grew worse as they got closer to Earth. People reported seeing shadows move in empty corridors. The ship's communication system picked up strange signals that vanished when they tried to trace them. 5 months into their journey home, the ship's engine unexpectedly shut down. Steve and the engineering team worked for hours to find the cause. "It's like something just turned it off," Steve explained during the emergency meeting. "All systems were working perfectly, then everything went dark at the same time." Captain Nelson looked around the table at his tired, stressed crew. "Could it be sabotage?" "No, sir," Steve replied. "The system logs show no human interference. It's like something else did this." They got the engines running again after 2 days of work. But more problems followed. Navigation systems failed. Food production units broke down. The ship's temperature controls fluctuated wildly. In the medical bay, Dr. Gray Patterson saw an increase in crew members reporting headaches and hallucinations. "Something's affecting us," he told Lisa during her checkup. "Not just our equipment, but our minds too." Lisa thought about the warnings they had found. What if we weren't supposed to know? What if learning about these warnings triggered something? One night, as Earth appeared as a small blue dot in their view screens, Amelia rushed into Lisa's quarters, her eyes wide with excitement and fear. "I've translated more of the warnings," she said, her voice shaking. "The Watchers weren't just monitoring Earth. They were keeping something locked away. Something that existed before their civilizations, before any civilization." "What is it?" Lisa asked. Amelia's face was pale. "I don't know exactly. The translations call it the Sleeper or the Forgotten One. But they all agree on one thing. If it wakes up, reality itself would be in danger." Lisa looked out her window at the distant blue planet. Their home. Their prison. The Horizon asterisk landed at the United Earth Government Space Center in Nevada. Armed guards met them as they stepped off the ship. Captain Nelson frowned when he saw them. "This was supposed to be a quiet return," he said to the officer in charge. Orders from above, sir, the officer replied. Your mission reports caught some important attention. The crew was taken to separate rooms for questioning. Lisa sat for hours as government officials asked her about the warnings they had found. She told them everything, showing pictures and videos from each dead world. A tall man in a black suit watched from the corner, saying nothing. When the questions ended, he stepped forward. Commander Harmon, what you found will be classified under the highest security level, he said. You and your crew will not speak of this to anyone. The public has a right to know, Lisa argued. The man's face showed no emotion. That decision isn't yours to make. You're dismissed. For 2 weeks, the crew was kept in a secure facility. They could see each other but couldn't contact anyone outside. Then, without explanation, they were released and told to take a month of leave. Olivia Martinez didn't go home. Instead, she went to a small coffee shop in Salt Lake City. She sat alone, staring into her cup, when an older man sat down across from her. Dr. Martinez, he said quietly, my name is Joseph Carter. I used to be an admiral in the space fleet. Olivia studied his face. How did you find me? People like us have ways of finding each other, he said. People who know the truth. He slid a small device across the table. When Olivia touched it, a hologram appeared showing symbols identical to those they had found on the dead worlds. We call ourselves the Lighthouse Keepers, Joseph said. We've known about the warnings for over 30 years. Olivia's eyes widened. How? They're not just out there in distant star systems. They're here, hidden throughout our solar system. Joseph's voice dropped to a whisper. Ancient artifacts on Mars, structures buried in Europa's ice, symbols carved into Saturn's rings, all with the same message about Earth. Why keep it secret? Olivia asked. Imagine what would happen if people learned they were living on top of something so dangerous that multiple civilizations across the galaxy felt the need to warn about it. Joseph looked around the coffee shop. The government decided people couldn't handle the truth. But what is the truth? What are we guarding? Joseph shook his head. We don't know exactly, but we believe every human has the right to know their real place in the universe. Meanwhile, Lisa received a strange package at her apartment. Inside was a data drive with a message. Not everything is in the official reports. Look deeper. The drive contained classified government files about strange energy readings detected around Earth. Some went back hundreds of years. Places where physics seemed to work differently, where time moved strangely, where people disappeared. Lisa called Daniel immediately. Have you seen these readings before? Yes, he said. They match patterns we found in the alien warnings. Something is definitely here on Earth. As they talked, Lisa didn't notice the black car parked outside her building, or the men watching her window. That night, someone knocked on her door. When she opened it, Olivia stood there with a man Lisa didn't recognize. We need to talk, Olivia said. This is Admiral Carter. He's with a group called the Lighthouse Keepers. I got your package, Lisa said. Joseph shook his head. We didn't send anything. A chill ran down Lisa's spine. Then who did? Someone else who knows the truth, Joseph said. And there's more truth you need to know. The government has found warnings like the ones you discovered all over our solar system. They'd been hiding this knowledge for decades. Lisa thought about the strange readings in the files. Then we need to find out what's being hidden on our planet. That's why we're here, Joseph said. We believe humanity deserves to know what they're really guarding, even if it terrifies them. The Lighthouse Keepers had a secret base inside an old mining facility in Colorado. Lisa and Daniel joined Olivia there, meeting other members of the group. Scientists, soldiers, and regular people who all shared one thing. They knew about the warnings. We need to figure out what Earth is guarding, Lisa said during their first meeting. The alien messages all point to something dangerous being contained here. We've been working on that for years, said Samantha Powell, a geologist with graying hair and sharp eyes. I found unusual energy patterns at specific locations around the world. She showed them a map with glowing dots spread across Earth. These spots show readings that don't match normal physics, energy that shouldn't exist, time that moves strangely. Daniel studied the map. The patterns look familiar, similar to what we found in the alien warnings. Exactly, Samantha said. And notice where many of these spots are located. She zoomed in on several dots. They match ancient human structures. Stonehenge, the Great Pyramid, Göbekli Tepe, places humans built thousands of years ago for reasons we never fully understood. You think these structures are part of a containment system? Lisa asked. Joseph Carter nodded. We believe ancient humans might have known something about what they were guarding. Maybe they built these structures as part of the system, or as warnings of their own. That night, Lisa couldn't sleep. She looked through old human myths about imprisoned gods, sealed demons, and monsters from beyond the stars. So many cultures had stories about dangerous beings locked away by ancient powers. What if these weren't just stories? The next morning, Daniel showed everyone something strange he had noticed. The energy readings get stronger in patterns. They pulse, like a heartbeat, but very slow. One pulse every few decades. And they're getting stronger, Samantha added. Whatever is contained, it might be waking up. Lisa thought about the strange events on the ship during their return journey. Could it have sensed us? When we found the warnings, could we have somehow alerted it? No one had an answer for that. They focused on the strongest energy reading on Earth, the Mariana Trench in the Pacific Ocean. The deepest part of any ocean, it had always been mysterious to humans. Now they had reason to believe something important was hidden there. We need to go down and see what's there, Lisa said. The government watches that area closely, Joseph warned. Getting there won't be easy. But Lisa was determined. We need to know what we're dealing with. They made plans in secret. Eric Lawson, a former Navy diver who had joined the lighthouse keepers years ago, had access to a small research submarine. It can take 3 people down to the deepest part of the trench, he explained. While they prepared for the mission, Amelia continued studying the alien warnings. She made an important discovery. I found references to what they called the sleeper in these texts, she told the others. They describe it as something from outside reality, or before the universe took form. What does that even mean? Daniel asked. I'm not sure, Amelia said. But whatever it is, it doesn't follow the same laws of physics that we do. That's why it's dangerous. Its very existence threatens our reality. 1 week later, Lisa, Daniel, and Eric were on a small boat in the Pacific Ocean. Below them was the Mariana Trench, and somewhere in its depths, perhaps the answer to the mystery. Last chance to back out, Eric said as they prepared to enter the submarine. Lisa looked at Daniel, who nodded. We need to know, she said. The small submarine slipped into the dark water and began its descent. As they sank deeper, their radio suddenly picked up a strange signal, a pattern of pulses that matched exactly what they had detected from the energy spots. It knows we're coming, Daniel whispered as they continued down into the darkness. The submarine plunged deeper into the Mariana Trench. Outside the small windows, darkness swallowed everything. The pressure gauge showed numbers that made Lisa nervous, but Eric assured them the submarine could handle it. We've reached 20,000 feet, Eric announced. Almost to the bottom. Daniel monitored his equipment. The strange signals grew stronger as they descended. His screen showed energy patterns unlike anything he had seen before. Look at this, he said, pointing to his readings. The energy doesn't move like normal energy should. It's like it's folding in on itself. What does that mean? Lisa asked. It means we're dealing with something that doesn't follow the laws of physics as we understand them. The submarine's lights suddenly caught something below them. At first, it looked like a rock formation on the ocean floor, but as they got closer, they could see it wasn't natural. That's a structure, Eric said, his voice filled with awe. Something built this down here. The structure was massive, stretching across the trench floor. It looked like a series of giant rings, one inside the other, all made of a dark material that seemed to absorb their lights rather than reflect them. At the center was a dome about the size of a small city. "How is this possible?" Lisa whispered. "Who could build something this big at the bottom of the ocean?" "Not who," Daniel said. "When? This structure looks ancient." Eric carefully moved the submarine closer. As they approached the outer ring, their instruments began to malfunction. The navigation system showed them in 3 different locations at once. The depth gauge spun in circles. "Something's interfering with our equipment," Eric said, fighting with the controls. "We should turn back," Lisa suggested. But before Eric could respond, the submarine lurched forward as if pulled by an invisible force. They were being drawn toward the center of the structure. "I can't control it," Eric shouted, struggling with the submarine steering. The small vessel scraped against one of the rings. The sound of metal tearing filled the cabin. Water began to leak in from a small crack. "Hold on," Eric yelled as he fought to stabilize the submarine. With a final effort, he managed to pull away from the structure. The submarine shot upward, away from the pull of the strange force. But the damage was done. One of the rings had been damaged where they hit it. As they watched through the windows, a strange light began to pulse from the damaged section. It spread quickly along the ring, growing brighter and more intense. "We need to get out of here," Daniel said urgently. Eric pushed the submarine to its limits as they raced toward the surface. Behind them, the light from the damaged structure continued to grow, turning the dark waters an eerie blue. When they finally reached their boat, they were shaking with fear and adrenaline. "We need to warn the others," Lisa said as they climbed aboard. But warning came too late. Within hours, strange reports started coming in from around the world. Electronic systems malfunctioning, people experiencing mass hallucinations, objects floating in midair, defying gravity. Back at the lighthouse keeper's base, Samantha showed them readings from the energy spots around the world. "They're all active now, all pulsing at the same time." "What have we done?" Daniel asked, his face pale. Admiral Carter called an emergency meeting. "Whatever was contained down there is waking up because of the damage to the structure. The containment system is failing." On screens around the room, they watched news reports of the strange events happening globally. People were panicking as reality itself seemed to be breaking down in small ways. "We didn't just find what Earth was guarding," Lisa said, watching the chaos unfold. "We accidentally damaged the cage that was holding it." Amelia burst into the room, her face showing both excitement and terror. "I've translated more of the warnings. I know what we're dealing with now." Everyone turned to her. "It's not a creature or a weapon," she said. "It's something much worse. The ancient texts call it the anti-pattern, a principle of unreality that existed before our universe formed." "What does that mean in simple terms?" Lisa asked. "It means we've damaged the walls that keep chaos from entering our ordered universe," Amelia replied. "And now that chaos is leaking through." The world changed over the next 3 days. Reports came in from every continent of impossible things happening. In Russia, a forest grew to full size in minutes, then disappeared. In Brazil, people reported seeing through solid objects. In Australia, a lake turned into a perfect mirror that showed a different sky. The lighthouse keepers worked nonstop to understand what was happening. They gathered in their main room, surrounded by screens showing the chaos spreading across Earth. "The containment is failing faster than we expected," Samantha said, pointing to her energy readings. "The damage we caused is like a crack in a dam. It's getting bigger." Ben Cooper, an engineer who had been quiet until now, stepped forward. "I've been studying the alien warnings and our readings. I think I understand what's happening." Everyone turned to listen. "The entity we damage isn't a thing in the way we understand things," Ben explained. "It's more like a principle or a law of physics. But it's a law from before our universe settled into its current form." "Speak plainly," Admiral Carter said. "What does that mean?" "Our reality works a certain way," Ben continued. Things fall down, not up. Time moves forward. Cause comes before effect. But this entity operates on different rules that are naturally destructive to our reality. Lisa thought about this. So the strange events we're seeing are places where our physics is being replaced by different physics, Ben finished. If it continues, our entire reality could be rewritten. Daniel pulled up images of the ancient structure they had found. But why Earth? Why was the containment system built here? Amelia, who had been translating more warnings, looked up from her work. I think I know why. The warnings say the Watchers didn't build the containment system themselves. They found it already here, built by someone or something even older. Who built it then? Lisa asked. The warnings call them the First Ones, or the Shapers, beings that existed when the universe was young. Amelia's voice was filled with wonder. And they chose Earth for a reason. There's something special about this planet, about its location in space, about the life that evolved here. Ben nodded excitedly. That makes sense with my theory. The warnings say humans are the guardians, but we never knew what we were guarding. I think our very existence, our minds, our consciousness, somehow helps maintain the containment. How is that possible? Admiral Carter asked. Think about it, Ben said. Humans create art, music, stories. We impose order on chaos. We find patterns everywhere. What if our brains evolved specifically to strengthen the walls of reality just by being here? The room fell silent as everyone considered this idea. So the ancient civilizations didn't fear humans, Lisa said slowly. They were protecting us because we're part of the containment system. We're not the prison, Daniel added. We're the prison guards. And we never knew it. As they talked, the lights flickered. Through the windows, they could see strange colors in the sky that shouldn't exist. The question now is, how do we fix it? Lisa asked. How do we repair the damage we caused? Ben walked to a table covered with drawings and calculations. I've been working on that. If my theory is right, we need to strengthen the containment. The structure in the trench isn't the only part of the system. All those ancient sites with energy readings, they're connected to it. The pyramids, Stonehenge, all of them. Samantha asked. Ben nodded. I think they form a network around the planet, designed to keep the entity contained. But they were built to be maintained, and humans forgot how thousands of years ago. Can we reactivate them? Lisa asked. Maybe, Ben said. But first we need to understand them better. A loud crash from outside interrupted them. They rushed to the windows to see trees bending in impossible angles. The sky churned with colors that hurt their eyes to look at. We're running out of time, Admiral Carter said grimly. Reality itself is coming apart at the seams. The government finally admitted what was happening 3 days later. The president appeared on television, her face grave as she explained the situation to a frightened world. We have known about the warnings from extinct alien civilizations for decades, she said. We now understand that Earth has a special purpose in the universe. We are the guardians of something ancient and dangerous, something that is now waking up. Captain Nelson had joined the lighthouse keepers. He arrived at their base with news from his government contacts. They found something in an old government vault, a device left by the Watchers. They think it's a failsafe. What kind of failsafe? Lisa asked. A last resort. If the containment completely fails, it can destroy Earth. Nelson's voice was heavy. Some officials think we should use it now, before things get worse. Destroy the whole planet? Daniel asked in shock. There has to be another way. Ben and Amelia had been working without sleep. They called everyone to see what they had discovered. We found instructions hidden in the warnings, Amelia said. The Watchers knew the containment might someday be damaged. They left a way to repair it. Ben pointed to his computer. The ancient structures around Earth aren't just containment points. They're focus points for human consciousness. What does that mean? Lisa asked. It means we were designed for this, Ben explained. Or we evolved for it. Human minds can strengthen the barriers between our reality and what lies outside it. That's our purpose. How do we do that? Admiral Carter asked. We need to activate all the ancient sites at once. Connect them through human minds focused on a single purpose. Ben looked around the room. We need people at each location working together. It was a desperate plan, but they had no choice. As reality continued to break down, teams were sent to each ancient site. The lighthouse keepers coordinated with governments around the world. Old enemies worked together against a threat bigger than any human conflict. Lisa, Daniel, and Admiral Carter flew to Stonehenge. Other teams went to the pyramids in Egypt, temples in Mexico, stone circles in Africa, and dozens of other locations. Each site was now glowing with strange energy as the barriers between realities grew thinner. The pattern is almost complete, Ben said over their communication system. Every site has a team in place. At Stonehenge, Lisa stood between the ancient stones. They hummed with energy she could feel in her bones. The sky above swirled with impossible colors. What do we do now? She asked. Focus your minds, Ben instructed all teams. The ancient texts say human consciousness can strengthen the barriers. Think about order, patterns, the laws of our reality. It seemed too simple, but they had no other options. Around the world, people at each site closed their eyes and focused their thoughts. At first, nothing happened. Then Lisa felt something, a connection to the stones around her, to the earth beneath her feet, to the people at other sites. It was like a web forming between all of them. The humming grew louder. The stones began to glow with blue light. It's working. Ben shouted over the communication system. The energy readings are stabilizing. Around the world, the strange events began to slow. Objects affected by the changing laws of physics returned to normal. The impossible colors in the sky faded. In the Mariana Trench, underwater cameras showed the damaged ring repairing itself, the structure glowing with the same blue light as the ancient sites on land. When it was over, the teams gathered back at the lighthouse keeper's base. They were exhausted but victorious. We did it, Lisa said. We repaired the containment. For now, Admiral Carter reminded them. But now we know our true purpose. Humans aren't just another species. We're guardians. Daniel looked at the maps showing all the ancient sites around the world. All these years, we built civilizations, created art, developed science. Without knowing, we were part of something bigger. The question is, Lisa said, now that we know, what do we do with this knowledge? Admiral Carter smiled. We do what humans have always done. We learn, we adapt, and we take our responsibility seriously. Outside, the sun set on a world forever changed, a world that now understood its true place in the universe.